a racial wealth gap. I hope I have an opportunity to get this rhetorical question in tonight on the Hannity Show. For all the woke Democrats who are concerned about income inequality, underrepresentation, the wealth gap, the household gap. Do you think this gap that you are so concerned about can be closed as long as black kids do substantially less homework each night than white kids, let alone Asian kids? What's your program for that? If you don't have somebody who tells you to go to bed on time and ensures that you do, and ensures that you've done homework, and ensures that when you get up you are ready and sufficiently disciplined to learn, tell me, please tell me, Democrats, how are you going to close the wealth gap? How do you suggest we close the wealth gap when, as I've been saying for weeks in Baltimore, there are 13 public high schools where 0% of kids can do math at grade level, and another half a dozen where only 1% can? Explain to me, Mayor Pete. Explain to me, President Biden. Explain to me, Chuck Schumer, how we close the wealth gap when kids are attending schools like that. Oh, and by the way, your party opposes the ability of a parent to use a voucher to possibly avoid an underperforming, crappy local government school. You know, same thing Michelle Obama did when she elected not to go to her local high school, instead got on a bus so she could go outside to a much better school. Explain to me how the wealth gap closes as long as 70% of black kids are born outside of wedlock. I'm listening. You consign kids to crappy schools. You push a welfare state agenda that is encouraging women to marry the government and encouraging men to abandon their financial moral responsibility. And then you talk about systemic racism and say asinine things like racism is in our highways. And you propose asinine solutions as the General Counsel of Koch has done. If a certain percentage of the outside legal work that we give you is not done by black lawyers, we're going to cut down your billable hours. Meaning law firms now, the elite ones that Coca-Cola uses, are going to be pressured into hiring lawyers that they otherwise wouldn't hire. I told you about my friend in Chicago who has a friend who works at one of these major law firms in Chicago. And because of the pressure that companies have put on them to have black lawyers work on their cases, they've gone out and hired black lawyers that they otherwise would not have hired in years past, he was told. And this woman says, I have to redo their work to make sure it's up to snuff. Jason Riley of the Washington Post wrote a book called Please Stop Helping Us. Do you really think pressuring a law firm to make sure that a certain percentage of the billable work is done by black lawyers does black lawyers any good?